Hi guys, Fog of Gaming here with the ultimate guide for the brand new sniper rifle in Warzone. The Rytec AMR can be unlocked by getting 3 quick scopes in 15 different matches, and today we're going to check out the weapon stats, the bullet patterns, the 2 best loadouts, the sweet spot and the aim problem. The Call of Duty Rytec AMR seems to be modeled after the Barrett XM109, which is a prototype anti-material rifle, so that is what AMR stands for. It is chambered for 25 x 59mm grenade rounds and developed by Barrett Firearms Manufacturing. It is capable of defeating light armor and equipment out to 2 kilometers. The Rytec AMR has a standard magazine capacity of 5 bullets, which can be improved to 25 x 59mm explosive or thermite 5-round max. Unfortunately for the Rytec, the normal magazines cannot one-shot kill an enemy player in Warzone, at least not a guy who has full health. So today we will focus on the explosive mags. The Rytec has a rate of fire of 94 rounds per minute, which is pretty good among all the other sniper rifles in Warzone. Only the Dragunov does better with 185 rounds per minute, and weapons like the HDR or the AX can't even come close with 38.5 and 31.5 rounds per minute. It takes 679 milliseconds to ADS, but you can quickscope from 340 milliseconds. The insanely long reload time is another downside that comes with the Rytec, 5.469 seconds. It seems to take forever every time you try to reload this weapon. Sure, sleight of hand will reduce that time drastically, but you'll be giving up another weapon attachment, which is not ideal. The damage stats are pretty nice, with 264 damage for headshots and 192 for body shots, which means that one shot to the head is all you need in order to kill your opponent. If you decide to go for body shots, then you will only need 2 shots to kill, which is pretty nice as well, because that will only take you 638 milliseconds, which is much faster than the 3.810 seconds that it takes for the HDR. The only sniper rifle that does this better is the Dragunov, with 324 milliseconds, but then again, it can only do that if you shoot him in his chest. The 5-round magazine feels inadequate, depending on the game mode you're playing, knowing that the HDR and the AX have access to 9-round magazines. Luckily, it does not have a damage drop-off point, so all the values that you just saw are valid at all ranges, but that is also where the problem starts. It is not a long-range sniper, meaning that it's not suited for long-range sniping. The biggest problem is the bullet velocity, only 349 meters per second. Just to put this into perspective, the basic AX50 has a bullet velocity of 928 meters per second. And the HDR with the best barrel has a bullet velocity of 1268 meters per second. And you're running around with a weapon that can only do 349 meters per second? Really? This is terrible. I've seen guys ducking my bullet, pure Matrix style. I shoot, the bullet travels and travels and travels. The guy sees the bullet, he crouches, and the bullets just fly past him. 349 meters per second is incredibly slow. It also has the slowest sprint to fire speed, with 274 milliseconds, but this is only a minor issue because the other snipers do it in 265 milliseconds. Another small issue is the slower movement speed of 251 meters per second. The other snipers are between 8 and 17 meters per second faster. When I started using this weapon, I used the variable zoom scope because, well, it's classified as a sniper, so of course you go for something like that. But it was terrible. The only thing that made sense was a VLK or something similar, so that you won't even bother trying to make long range kills. And that is where this weapon sort of makes sense, in medium range firefights, but more on that later in this video. Okay, now that we know what this weapon can do, let's tweak it for Warzone. I will create 2 loadouts, one that makes sense for a sniper and one that practically makes sense for Warzone if you decide to use the Rytec AMR. Let's start off with the muzzle. The Rytec AMR suppressor is the only option that you have to reduce the sound of the weapon, and make no mistake, this is a very loud weapon. But know that the XRK tank brake makes this weapon a lot better, drastically reducing the upward kick, which you can see in this video. The great thing about the suppressor is not the improvements on the damage range, because there is no damage drop-off point, but the improvements on the bullet velocity. That's what matters. It adds 45 meters per second, so we then get a bullet velocity of 390 meters per second. But this does come at a great cost, a penalty on the ADS speed of 98 milliseconds, which is a lot. To put things into perspective, the monolithic suppressor for the HDR only adds 33 milliseconds to the ADS speed, so yeah, this is something you just have to deal with. The FTAC 7 straight is the best barrel, improving the bullet velocity from 345 meters per second to 545 meters per second. And as you know, the effect on the damage range has no impact. Unfortunately, it comes with an even larger penalty on the ADS speed than before, with an increase of 115 milliseconds. But I found a way to avoid this altogether in the second loadout. You could stick to the standard scope that comes with the Rytec, but the magnification just seems way too high for a sniper rifle like this, so the variable zoom scope makes more sense overall. The best stock is the XRK Mastodon. It works magic on the aiming stability and your weapon sway will be greatly reduced, which you can see in greater detail in the best loadout video, which I will link here below. The reduced weapon sway makes it much easier to aim for your opponent's head or neck in this case, which I will explain later as well. As you know, the only way to get a one shot, one kill is with the explosive 5R max. Like I said before, this is the best loadout for a sniper, but then again, this weapon does not make sense for a sniper, so we'll have to do something else. I saw a dramatic improvement in my own kills to death ratio with this weapon when I attached the VLK. If you want, you're more than welcome to join me live on stream, where you can get access to this information long before the video gets released, because a lot of this was already discussed in yesterday's live stream. So, what we discovered is that the Rytec makes sense in medium range fights. That is why I included the second loadout, and this is the one you should be using in Call of Duty Warzone. We're going to focus on ADS speed, because with the VLK, the scope sway does not matter that much. I will show you that right after the loadout section. So, let's hang on to the suppressor, because it's a necessary evil. The ability to remain silent is great for Warzone, but we will have to accept the ADS penalty of 98 milliseconds. We're going to remove the barrel altogether. We don't need the improved damage range. We don't need the improved bullet velocity at this range, and we definitely don't need another penalty on the ADS speed of 115 milliseconds. So get rid of it. We will have to keep the explosive rounds, but since we don't need the improved aiming stability, we can go for the STOVL tac wrap for a better ADS speed, and we can also go for the stippled grip tape for another bonus to our ADS speed and to our sprint to fire speed. Some of you have asked why I didn't go for the tac laser in the previous loadout video. The answer is very simple for the Rytec AMR. If I swap out the STOVL tac wrap for the laser and I go into Premiere Pro, move forward frame by frame, then I will ADS in exactly the same time frame. For this weapon, there is no noticeable difference. The downside of the laser is that your enemy can see it. Now, why would you want to give away your position if you can easily avoid that by using the right attachment? And now we have found a way to make this weapon usable in Warzone. I do want to clarify something regarding the weapon sway. With our initial loadout, but with the VLK attached for comparison purposes, the weapon sway is almost non-existent. With our ADS focused loadout, the scope sway is very noticeable, however it doesn't matter that much at this range. As you can see, when I try to aim for the center of the triangle, then it's still relatively easy to keep it centered. And if I then hold my breath for when I do want to try to take a long range shot, then I will still have the perfect stable aiming point. The biggest advantage of the ADS speed focused loadout is of course the ADS time. Before I show you that, let's establish a reference point with our initial loadout, which you can see over here. But when we then use the Car 98K for example, which just got even better, then you can clearly see how slow our Rytec's ADS time really is. If we then do a direct comparison between our ADS focus loadout and our initial loadout, then you can clearly see the benefits. When we then compare the bullet patterns between our initial and our ADS loadout, then there is definitely a noticeable difference. The difference in upward kick does become larger with every consecutive shot. This is something we just have to deal with, because the benefits on the ADS time are much larger than the downside on the upward kick. Guys, there is one more thing we have to discuss. The zero range. It's terrible. The Rytec is classified as a sniper rifle in Warzone. Most sniper rifles are meant to be used at range. This one clearly isn't. Unfortunately, they hard-coded a zeroing range of about 200 meters, meaning that with a high-powered scope, if you aim at your opponent's head, that you will actually hit this opponent's head. If you try to do that at let's say 50 meters or 100 meters, then you're going to miss your shot. Your bullet will fly over your opponent's head. This is a bug, or it's meant to be like this, we just don't know yet. It does mean that you have to do something very unnatural for a sniper. Instead of aiming at your opponent's head, you will now have to aim for his chest or neck depending on the range, as you can see in this kill. This feels very weird. Strangely enough, for explosive rounds, the splash damage is pretty much non-existent. I didn't even manage to damage my enemy, even though I shot a wall right next to this guy. Alright gentlemen, we have covered everything there is to know about the Rytec AMR. Ask yourself, Is the Rytec the best sniper rifle in Call of Duty Warzone? I'm sure that we all came to the same conclusion. No, it is not. There are many different and better options out there. I have to be honest, I was very excited to learn that there was a new sniper rifle in our favorite game. And yes, if you have time to unlock it, then definitely give it a try, but then please go ahead and use something better. You can check out some of these weapons in the specific weapon guides for the other, aka better sniper rifles in Warzone over here. In the meantime, come over and check me out live on stream, and remember to like and sub here on YouTube. This was Fog of Gaming, thanks for watching, and I will see you in Warzone.